Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse Daily Dose of AFA.
Where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing so you can start your day off the AFA way. And in case you have forgotten, we're here to remind you because I know I need to hear it. Mark?
Oh, well, Sherry, the truth of the matter is that you're absolutely fucking amazing exactly as you are. And
No
that
need to change.
is outside of anybody telling you anything different, especially if you're in a relationship, because, the old saying is if, if being in a relationship is like throwing Miracle Grow on all of your character defects. Like if
Oh my
you want to see stuff that you don't like about yourself, get into a relationship because you're going to see it mirrored in somebody else. And that's, and so you take on all of these stories about I could be better at this. I could think differently. My reaction to things is bad sometimes. My blah, 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 blah. That's all just extraneous bullshit because the fact of the matter is you're human. You're subject
Right.
to the human condition, which is you're programmed via your experiences and your genetics, and you get wired to be a certain way. That's not the real you.
Yeah.
Behind all of that humanness is you, the spirit that's absolutely fucking amazing and perfect in every way. So,
Yes. Well, Mark, the
yeah.
intimacy of relationships, just think about this too. When you enter
Oh,
into a relationship, you
yeah.
start to peel away, right? You start to
Mhm.
open up your heart and your soul. And this is when
Yeah.
you're the most vulnerable.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when we're the most vulnerable,
Yeah.
sometimes what happens is we get scared. And sometimes when we
Of
get
course we
scared,
do.
what happens? Those fear-based emotions come up. We get triggered.
Those patterns, those old, it's just another, it just lights
Yeah.
that pattern of reaction. And you have no choice in the matter, by the way.
Oh,
You may
boy.
think you have free will and you have choice. When you get triggered, you have no choice. It is in action, and that's who you will be in that moment. But you know,
Embrace that humanity. I can give a
yeah.
complete 100% quick little
Oh yeah.
story about that. It happened yesterday. I don't know what the trigger was, but I was in the middle of a radio show podcast, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden I felt that heart beating. I
Yeah.
started like sweating. I felt like the deer in the headlights. Every time I wanted to talk, nothing came out. So I don't know where it came from. That was the part is my body, my brain was
Yeah.
so fast firing based on a feeling that it took me way back. And
Yeah.
then all those emotions came up and I had to sit with it and look in the
Oh yeah.
camera look at the green dot and breathe through it.
Yeah. And what's an emotion? It's just another triggered
Feeling.
path, a neural pathway that triggers in your brain and gives you an emotion. And everybody likes to identify with their emotions. Oh, I'm sad. No, you're not sad. That's not you literally sad. Okay. Show me sad somewhere in the world. Show it to me. It's not real. It's just a
Yeah.
way of being. It's a
Well, it's a
way of
feeling.
feeling, right? It's
Yeah.
not real. It's not who you really are. It's just a pattern that's fired. So you're not sad. You're feeling sad.
Sad.
You're not
Exactly.
angry. You're not
The,
actual anger. You're just
the
feeling
core,
angry.
say it in a simple way. This is what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the core of who we are is not a feeling. Just because you have that feeling doesn't make it you.
It's not you.
Right? It's so the feelings
Completely
aren't
not
right
you.
or wrong, right? Feelings aren't right or wrong. They
No.
just are. And the one thing that we can count on, Mark,
Mhm.
is our feelings are going to change. They always
Of
do.
course they are. They always do. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I mean, I've had experiences in my life where, I've met somebody. And by the way, when we meet people, we immediately judge them, immediately make a judgment about them subconsciously without even having to have any conscious thought about it. It's what it happens is you meet somebody, they look like somebody that you've met in the past. It brings that neural pathway into play. All these memories come into play. You don't even know what's going on, and you make a
Uh-huh.
judgment about a person. Have you walked into a room before and immediately met somebody and said, "Oh, I don't like them"? You didn't fucking know them. You have
You know
no
what I mean?
idea who that person is, but you immediately
None.
say, "Ooh, there's something about them I don't like." Yeah, something about them don't like is your neural pathways going squirrely based on past experiences that have nothing to do with that person you just met.
Okay, I'm gonna take it a step further. You want to hear something even funnier? What
Yeah.
about this? What about a past life?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Hey,
Right?
bring that into play too.
So
Why
could
not?
you so in other words, here's a really fun story. So you meet someone and you have that
Yep.
deja vu, and then you
Uh-huh.
realize, oh, this could have been a past life experience. And then what happens? That past life story comes in your head, and you
Yeah.
make that past life all about that person.
Of course you do. So, it's just fascinating to be human. At the end of the day, the message is in AFA in the book, the message is this. You're human, give yourself a break, give everybody else a break. We're just so pre-programmed to do stupid shit. It's just the way it is. So you can step outside of that and understand that at our core, everybody is absolutely amazing because we're spirit, and that's the core.
Yeah.
Everything else that we experience or believe or have an opinion on is just unreal. It's not even real.
Well, the other thing too, it's language. How many,
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
language is your reality.
It is. It is. And if you don't
Yeah. Of
understand a word, if you don't understand what it means, guess what you do? You make it up.
course you do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You infer the meaning, you make it up. Yep. Mhm, mhm. Isn't
Yeah.
it
So
great
never.
being human, Sherry?
Oh boy, can I tell you at least, here's the good news
Yeah.
about being human. At least now we have the consciousness to understand that
Mhm.
when we get triggered into the story, so it's like so I can embrace all of that part that I think is unlovable, right? So if I can
Yes.
say, "Oh God,
What's
this is just a
unlovable?
well, this is just a part of me." The feeling, that
Yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah.
You feel like you're not lovable because you're feeling a certain way, or you made a
Mhm.
mistake, or you did something, you didn't do something, or you could have done something better, shoulda, coulda,
Yeah.
woulda,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so being able to shift and pull back from that and
Right. Right.
embrace who you are. If you can
Mhm.
love that part of you that you feel is unlovable, guess
Yeah.
what? It doesn't matter if anyone loves you or not.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell. It
In a
doesn't
nutshell.
matter what anybody else thinks about
Mhm.
you. It's how
What
what
do I
you
think?
think about you. And you'd have to it's work to
It's work.
understand and get past that whole idea that the concept of the you that you think you are is not something that you created. It's something that you were given by everybody else. And you just either agree with it or you don't agree with it. You know what? When you get past all of that, you know that you're absolutely amazing.
Amazing. And so there's a
Love
really cool
you.
spiritual tool, right? So to
Yeah.
prevent all of other people's stuff from
Yeah.
coming in and sticking to you, there's a nice little cool prayer and mantra, right? You
Yeah.
cut all cords. I cut all cords to people, places, things, thought forms,
Mhm.
energies, entities that are not of the light. And I protect my energy with my thoughts. I place that super bubble filled with white light around me and I show up in the world loving myself
Mm.
so I can love others. So
Mhm.
here it is isn't it? The more you can love yourself, it's
Yep.
easier to love others exactly how they are, you know,
They're off the hook.
embracing.
They're off the
They're
hook.
off the hook.
If you get to the point where you love yourself, it's because you realize that you're human and the human experience is just what it is. And it's not the real you, and that you are absolutely amazing. And when you get there, that's right. You let yourself off the hook, and then everybody else is off the hook. And your relationships change.
Yeah.
Yeah, your relationships change.
Because your
And
relationship with yourself has
mm,
changed. So, right?
yes,
That's
yes,
yeah.
yes. And so
Oh,
here we
God.
are, baby.
Here we
Thursday.
are.
Throwback Thursday. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Throwback Thursday. Rise and
April
shine.
8th.
The only April 8th we're ever going to have in
This one.
2021.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it
Cheers.
is.
Here's to in
Oh,
the weeds.
welcome. Yeah, welcome. So this is a fabulous day today.
It
This
is.
is this day. You know what, guys? Oh, I'm gonna get right close
What?
to the mic.
Oh, me. I want to listen.
This could be the day that it all happens. This
Oh,
could be the day
my.
that it all comes true.
Yes, all of your dreams come true, right?
Oh, all of
Listen,
them come true. Today could be the day.
if you can imagine it, it can
Yeah,
happen,
of
right?
course.
If you
Of
can
course.
create it, you can make it happen.
Yeah,
That's what,
yeah,
so just
yeah,
keep going, just keep swimming. And we
yeah.
are on to
Whatever it
the
is.
whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the cool thing, Sherry. This is the only day that we're gonna get April 8th, 2021. You don't know when your last day is. It could be today. Today could be the last day. If you look at it from that standpoint, what do you want to be doing today? What is it? I mean, how do you want to spend your last day? Because this could be it. No, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I thought
I
about this
know.
morning. I thought about my friend Dick Stanton. Dick was an amazing, fabulous human being. He's a very talented craftsman. Like he could work on anything. He taught school in wood shop. He was a wood shop teacher for a while, and then he was a contractor, but he could work with his hands, and he was just a fabulous guy. And we became very, very good friends. And Dick worked for Home Depot. And one beautiful May morning, Dick got up for work and he, got his clothes on and kissed his wife, Pat, goodbye. And he went to his job at Home Depot and he was in charge of training employees because he was such a great, gifted educator. And on that morning, he showed up for work and he started to get a headache and
Mm,
his head just started to hurt a little bit more, and he stayed at work for a little longer. And then it got so bad, the pain got so bad that he decided he just needed to go to the hospital. And he went to the emergency room, and by the time he went there, the pain was just so excruciating that he lost consciousness. And my friend Dick never woke up again. He had a
mm-mm.
brain aneurysm and he passed away. They had to take him off life support the next day. And so Dick didn't wake up that morning knowing that that was his last day on earth. It would be the last time that he kissed his wife goodbye. We don't know. So when I
Mm,
say, I mean, I say it every day that this is the only day we have.
yeah.
Make it the best day ever. That's how I end the daily love. And I am so, so absolutely focused on that you
Yeah.
understand that this could be your last day. So what are you going to do today?
Cannabis.
Yay! All right, let's start off with the daily love. All right, so
Ah.
the daily love today was pulled from my pal Emmett Fox, and he talks about circulation today and
Ooh.
how things get congested. So there is a law of circulation. It's a great cosmic law, and it's true everywhere and on all planes. So the law is that constant rhythmical movement is necessary to health and harmony. Think about it. It's true
You
for
gotta
your
keep moving.
body. It's true for your family life. It's true for you. Just have to keep movement going, right? So
Yeah.
it really is true, and if you think about it, it shows up in a lot of unexpected places. So you talk about ill health. Well, a lot of it's due to emotional congestion. We know this in the healthcare field. We know that stuffed emotions, not like letting those emotions out and feeling
Mhm.
those, letting them go and not attaching to them, stuffing them down and holding on to them causes disease. It's an
Yeah,
absolute known fact that that's what happens.
I agree.
And so Emmett, was very popular during the Great Depression of the 1930s in this country. It was a 10-year period of time. It was an awful period of time. But the reality was, Sherry, that there was plenty of raw material. The country had all the machinery that it needed, had all the skill. There was a widespread demand for goods, but still we had 10 years of a depression. Why? Because there was congestion. There was a
Yeah.
congestion within the thoughts of the people. So
Mm.
at the end of the day, it's really you should treat yourself 2 or 3 times a day to free that circulation. Just by
Circulation.
understanding that there's abundance and that you're healthy and that you're moving in the right direction, and just keep that circulation going.
Makes sense. Now let's compare it to the anatomy and physiology. So we got the
Yeah.
circulate healthy emotions. Think about this.
Mhm.
Our hearts are beating and circulating blood.
Mhm.
Guess what? If it didn't beat and circulate blood, we wouldn't be alive. Right?
That
Same
is
thing with our
true.
gastrointestinal system. It's constantly moving to
Always.
provide us with nutrients and micronutrients and to process and to
Yeah.
metabolize. If we're not circulating our digestive tract, what happens? We're not going to eat and we're going to throw up and
Again,
we're going to
if you
have
don't if your digestive tract,
Yeah.
Your
Oh
digestive
boy, do I
tract
know.
not working, you're in a serious, serious situation.
Yeah, because it does
Serious.
affect your brain too. So,
Of
you
course
think
it
about these things.
does.
And
Yeah,
then even as far as, all of the different we can talk about the endocannabinoid system.
we
Seriously,
will.
circulation, everything is moving. The endocannabinoid system's on and off. And so just
Right.
think even with your brains,
Yeah.
even with your brain when you get triggered in an emotion and those
Mhm.
stuck, congested, icky feelings,
Right.
there's so many different tools that we can do to breathe through them, to
Many.
circulate them out. Get
So
rid of it.
many. I started
Get
my
rid of
day
those
off with
vibes.
44 breaths today. I was out there when the sun hadn't even come up and it was chilly here today, right? It was my favorite temperature, mid 50s. And I was out there meditating, doing the
That's
44
awesome.
breaths. And that was just moving that breath in and out, moving that circulation. So it
That's good.
really is about just the circulation of life
Circulating.
in all
Yeah,
things. Keep things moving.
keep
And
things
that goes for money too, because sometimes we get this message that we should hold on to our money as much as possible.
mhm.
Save that
All
money
right.
because you never know what's going to happen.
Well, it
And
is. It's the law of cause and effect, right? In and out. You got
yeah,
once you
so
pay, it's the abundance, right?
letting it's that's another circulatory system. Money in, money out.
Money
Let
out.
it in,
Yeah.
let it out. And
Yeah.
if you get that, oh my God, your
I
life
know.
is so much better.
Circulation,
Whoa. Okay.
airway,
Yep.
breathing, circulation.
And you brought
There
it
we
up.
go.
So now we're going to wrap it all into cannabis in the endocannabinoid system. And
Yes.
that's just as you say, that's another circulatory system, like it's an on off. You
Mhm.
have your endocannabinoids are released and they do the things that they need to do in your body and then they're gone. So they
And
don't
then
stay, they're not
yep.
stored anywhere. It's like you needed it,
On, off, on,
now you
off,
don't
on,
need it.
off.
You needed
Yeah.
it. And so when our
Mhm.
endocannabinoid system gets a little bit tweaked sideways, we had that
Congested.
endocannabinoid deficiency. There is no
Mhm.
circulation within that system, right? That on off, it's not
Exactly.
on and off. It's
It's
just,
not on and off.
come on, we need it, we need it, we need it. And it's not coming. So,
Or it's stuck on and it can't
yeah,
turn off, right? So
right.
you think about it. So we're producing these internal endogenous cannabinoids
Yep.
to regulate all of our 11 organ systems and our immune system.
Hmm.
We produce cannabinoids upon demand. And
Right.
if we can't produce them
Hmm.
efficiently, not or enough to maintain homeostasis, what happens? Our
Hmm.
body's always trying to autocorrect, it's trying to fix
Right.
itself. And without the proper tools,
Yeah.
it doesn't do a very good job.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So the endocannabinoid system has been truly pivotal. Mark and I talk about this all the time
Yeah.
and how it is changing how we take care of people.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because as clinicians, we have realized that everything that we tell our patients to do or not do is affects the endocannabinoid system. So
Right.
we've been talking about history, right? We've been doing
Hmm.
Throwback Thursday, and we've been discussing the history of the receptors, the endocannabinoid system. So a few weeks
Yeah.
ago, Mark and I covered CB1 receptors, which are primarily in the central nervous system in the brain, were discovered in
Yep.
1988, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
1988.
Yeah. And
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 then,
it was weird, right? So they were studying cannabis for all these years,
mhm,
and they find THC and CBD, and they're wondering, well, why is this working in the human body? Why is it intoxicating? What about it? How is that interacting? So they were just wondering, like they didn't know that we produced our own endogenous cannabinoids at that
right,
point. They're like, well,
right.
how does this, how do these work in the body? And that's when
So
they
that
found receptors, and they're like, we have receptors, but why do we have receptors? Why would your body just have receptors for a
receptors.
plant, Sherry?
Exactly. Well, it wouldn't because
It
if we have
wouldn't.
it wouldn't. If we have receptors in our body, then our body makes something for those receptors.
Bingo.
And so what they discovered was this. They had
Mhm,
the THC molecule. They've discovered the CB1 receptor, which
mhm.
THC plugs into perfectly. So
Perfect.
here it is. Here's the light bulb that goes off in the
Yeah.
researcher's mind. I have a receptor. So I
Mhm.
must make something, but wow, how cool is it that this plant THC fits perfectly in there? There's
Yeah,
got to be something that we make that is just like THC.
exactly.
Boom.
That's when they found the endogenous cannabinoids, the ones that we make,
Yeah.
anandamide 2-AG, and there are others that are still that
Oh,
we're
yeah.
working to really
Discover.
figure out. But
Yeah.
those were the ones they
The
said,
primary.
"Oh, wow.
Yes.
Now why do we make
Exactly.
them? What is this all about?"
Yes. So basically, 1992, anandamide was discovered, our own internal endogenous cannabinoid.
Mhm.
Anandamide is a Sanskrit word for bliss, right? That bliss molecule that you hear we
Yeah.
talk about, and it mimics THC. So one of the things that I learned through
Mhm.
studying is that the THC molecule is 10 times stronger than the anandamide molecule.
Mhm.
Or another way of saying that is the anandamide molecule that we make is 1/10 the strength of the THC molecule. So
Mhm.
that goes to show you how we don't need a ton of cannabis to make
Don't
it
need a
work.
ton of
You
No,
know?
that's absolutely right. And you
Right?
know what? Sometimes what they're seeing now, and I was having a discussion with someone last night who has a family member who was in the emergency room over the weekend because they couldn't stop vomiting for the last month or so. Well, guess what? We found that they had been using a lot of high THC cannabis products. And, cannabis hyperemesis syndrome is
Mhm.
an issue
It
because
is.
it's a flood of very high THC content. So we don't know why it happens. We don't know what the mechanism of action is, but we do know that that's what happens. And unfortunately for that
Well,
person,
yeah,
Sherry,
it's a
what's the
nightmare.
only remedy?
They have to stop cannabis because
Yes.
the dehydration is just so severe.
Oh,
People, here's what happens physiologically in the body.
yep,
You flood the body with too much THC, right? Guess
yep,
what happens? Your body says, I'm good. I don't
yeah,
need to make any more anandamide. I'm going to go take a nap,
yep,
right? So your body's depending upon all that THC. You flood too much, your
mhm,
receptors get saturated.
right,
There's receptors we have in our digestive system, this TRPV1 receptors.
yep,
And what they've
cannabinoids,
shown is
mhm,
that they recede. So, in other words, the receptors aren't sticking up, being able to receive something
yep,
because they want to protect you. It's
right,
saying, fuck you, you're giving me way too much. I'm
right,
going to go take a nap. And
right,
then what happens in your gastrointestinal tract is gastric motility starts to decrease. Well,
yeah,
guess what? If we're not circulating,
it's
right?
gotta go somewhere. It's either going out this way or going out this way. So, what happens is, unfortunately, that you develop this hyperemesis syndrome
Emesis
where you
syndrome.
just throw up. When you have
Yeah.
cannabis, any of it, you're gonna just throw up. And
Yeah.
so, it and isn't it? It's just amazing. So we're talking about these receptors and,
Mhm.
the history of where they were discovered. And it's just fascinating that the human body does
I
self-regulate.
know.
It just
Does.
and that's what it does. So these receptors, you know, maybe a lot
They're
of people don't know about
communicating.
this, but receptors are what allow things to flow in and out of our cells. And so those
Yes.
receptors are on the cells and they take these little molecules of what's floating around in outside in that liquid environment and they say, "Oh, I recognize you. Snap on in." And then
Yeah, and do something,
that
right? So
then that does something that either opens a channel for calcium or other, sodium or anything to flow in, whatever it happens to be, or
mhm.
it triggers it to not allow anything to flow in. So it's just this
Yes.
amazing receptor system.
I love it because it's either telling our body to do something
Yep.
or not do something. It's like,
Sure.
do this, nope, don't do this. Do
Yeah.
this, nope, don't do this. And so the
Yeah.
endocannabinoid system regulates that entire system. So if you can imagine, if you take too much, your system's like, I don't need that much.
Right.
What can
Right.
I do to protect myself? Well, guess
Exactly.
what? I'm going to make you puke.
Yeah. I'm going to
Because
make you puke. So
exactly.
it's just so fascinating, Sherry, that your
Yeah.
body, and that's why we talk about, a lot of times your what you need for cannabis
Yeah.
can change over time. And
Mhm.
so when you have somebody who's in a disease state and their endocannabinoid system is not working and they're not getting enough of that, we talked about this the other day. What happens? Your body says, "Oh, there's not enough of this particular cannabinoid in the system. I'm going to make more receptors." Like more
Yes.
receptors appear on the cells. And
Yes.
so, in things like
Migraine
autism
headaches.
or cancer,
Yeah.
they find that that those people that are suffering from these things have a lot more CB1, CB2 receptors, right? Because
Because
the
they're
body's
actually
saying,
looking
hey,
for it,
yeah, hey, we got problems
searching.
going on here. We're looking for this stuff. So maybe there's not enough circulating, but if I make enough
Enough
receptors
receptors.
available, I'll be able to capture whatever is there. So your
Yes.
body's really super intuitive like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
So
So great. So
yeah,
Throwback Thursday. So what do we cover? We covered CB1,
yep.
anandamide, and then in what was it?
93.
1993, the
Yeah.
CB2 receptor. So the CB2 receptor is
Mhm.
present throughout the immune system, the peripheral nervous system,
Yep.
our metabolic processes,
Yep.
metabolic tissues,
Yep.
and in many of our other internal
Mhm.
organs, right?
Right.
So the discovery of the CB2 receptor definitely shed new light on how
Mhm.
cannabinoid signaling regulates inflammation and why cannabinoid therapy should be helpful in treatment for a whole host of
Mhm.
autoimmune conditions, right?
Whole host. So if your CB2 receptor signaling system is off in any way, it can be implicated in things like metabolic syndrome, which is something that occurs, especially as you go down the path of diabetes. Many times you'll develop this metabolic syndrome where it's a lot of different things happening that
Yep.
affect your ability to metabolize food, drugs,
Yes.
everything. Peripheral neuropathy, insulin resistance, liver disease, and a host of other inflammatory conditions, all revolving around the
This
CB2
receptor.
receptor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The part that's so fascinating too is that when THC binds to the CB2 receptors, it's non-impairing, okay? It
Mhm.
doesn't trigger the psychoactive high that generally THC is known for because they're not concentrated in the brain. CB1 receptors are very prominent in the brain. CB2 receptors are prominent more in our immune system in those different
Right.
organs.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
CB2 receptors are found on all immune cells, including the microglia and the astrocytes, which modulate the immune function of the brain.
Right. So they are
Um,
present in the brain, just not in a
Not a
high
lot.
amount like CB1 receptors, right?
Yeah.
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 So the CB2 receptors, they're significantly upregulated in response to a brain injury or a neurodegenerative condition like Alzheimer's or MS. So
Right.
there are a lot of studies that are being done about using, CBD and the minor cannabinoids when somebody has a traumatic brain injury, like they come in and they've had, a concussion or a stroke. They're really looking, a lot of studies are being done about using CBD to actually decrease the damage, right? To
Right.
create a
Yeah.
protective environment for those brain cells to regenerate, to repair themselves.
Right.
Yeah,
It's so fascinating.
it
And
is.
so, what are researchers doing now? They're setting their sights on healing, right?
Yep.
Looking at these different cannabinoids without the
Mhm.
high by developing drugs that stimulate the CB2 receptors while bypassing CB1. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really
It
fascinating.
really
So,
is. It really is. And then,
mm,
I mean, oh my gosh, we're getting up 28 minutes. We're just
we're,
talkative
we're
today.
talking. We got
Throwback
one more.
Thursday. Yeah, so we talk about 2AG,
Yeah,
which
we'll
is
quit with
which is
that
the
one.
second predominant
Yeah,
uh um endocannabinoid,
cannabinoid that we
the
make.
cannabinoid that we make internally. And that was discovered in 1995.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
And the part that's interesting about that is that it was identified as an endocannabinoid by
Mhm.
Dr. Machulam and his team, but also by Japanese scientists long
Mhm.
time ago, back in
Yeah.
and then they compared anandamide and 2-AG. So this is what's really interesting too, because anandamide is more like the THC molecule, the bliss
Right.
molecule. 2-AG proved to be just as potent or more potent and more prevalent
Yeah.
and more broadly expressed throughout the body.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
Mm,
A2AG levels in the human brain are 170 times higher than those of anandamide. So, listen, 2AG is being used in a much different way within the human body.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So many different things that it does. I'm losing my voice.
Mhm.
Maybe that's time for me to stop talking.
Right. Well, no, I think you know what? I think just take a little moment here.
Take
Now, here's a cool thing, and we were talking about this just now. 2 AG levels in the brain surge after a head injury or a stroke. Now, is that because of the inflammatory process within the brain at that particular moment? Is that why? Well, we're looking at that, and we're looking at
right,
using cannabinoids to kind of hack that inflammatory process, because when you have a traumatic brain injury, the inflammation is
right,
usually what causes the damage, right?
right.
Think
Yep.
about it. There's not a lot of space in this hard skull of ours. And when the brain becomes inflamed, it's an issue. There's
Yeah.
not much room for it to expand. And that's when you have that cell damage. So anything that we can do to decrease that inflammation. I mean, normally they'll, remove a piece of your skull if you really have a bad injury to
Yeah.
allow for the brain room to expand, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the part that's so cool too about a nonamine and 2-AG, when we're talking about the inflammation in the brain, they
Mhm.
both protect cells against oxidative damage, right? So
Yeah.
oxidative stress acts as
Mhm.
an antioxidant, protect against free radicals, and both
Yeah.
of these compounds help us to adapt to stress, right? But in
Right.
very distinct ways.
Yeah.
Really
Now
fascinating.
now now we could go on and on and on.
Yeah, we'll
You know
we'll
what?
we'll,
We're gonna
we'll
hold on
yeah,
the
we'll
enzymes
hold on.
that degrade them. We're gonna talk
Yes.
about them separately
Okay.
because they're really cool as well, and that's
They are.
another area that we're looking at in medicine as to how to maybe help regulate your endocannabinoid system. Maybe
Yes.
work on things that will shut off that degradation enzyme and allow stuff to remain in your system a little longer. Anyway,
Yes.
fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. It is.
Fascinating stuff. So,
So the bottom line, Mark, what is the endocannabinoid system plays a pivotal role in maintaining a healthy,
mhm,
stable environment inside our body,
right.
despite what's going on outside. Right. So
Exactly.
three big components of the endocannabinoid system. One, cannabinoid receptors that are found on the cell surfaces.
Mhm.
Two, internal endogenous cannabinoids that we make on
Yep.
demand. Three, metabolic enzymes that break down those endocannabinoids after they're used. And
Yeah.
cannabis plays a role in this exactly the way our endocannabinoid system, plant phytocannabinoids,
Yeah, baby.
internal endogenous cannabinoids. So we're going to continue this Throwback Thursday history on the endocannabinoid system probably
Ooh,
next week.
yay, we might. We
We
never
might.
know.
You
We
never
never
know.
know. But we're only gonna worry about today because it might
Yeah,
be the only one we have left.
that's it.
But it is the
Exactly.
only April 8th, 2021 you got. So, Sherry,
It's been a
and
great
hold
show.
on, before we go, oh yeah, oh yeah. Before we go, we've got things coming up tomorrow,
Oh
9
God,
a.m. We've
420 is
got
coming too.
energy healing. Then we've got
Yes, we do.
420, the 420 in the weeds
Yeah.
prohibition talk radio, the 420
It's
event.
420 potathon.
Yeah,
So it can be a potathon or a potathon because it's going to be a podcast where we're giving
potathon.
stuff away.
Right.
So Joe came up with this great idea, the 420 potluck potathon,
Yep.
giving
Yep.
away gifts and prizes from different
Right.
companies, which is going to be a
Love it.
really, really fun celebration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so
It
we're
is.
rocking and rolling, bringing you guys lots of hugs and nugs of love,
Guys, and
inspiration.
thanks for stopping in and listening in. And this the daily dose of AFA is now available on all major podcast channels. So if you want to listen to it as a podcast, you can do that too.
Yeah,
But hey, listen, we love the fact that you show up in the morning, that you're listening to us. Spread the word. Let everybody know that we're out here because
absolutely. Share.
this is a conversation for all of us to have. And
It is.
love it when you show up and you're part of this. And I know that I'm already having the most amazing day. Like this
I
one,
know.
I think might be the one to beat all others. This could
The
be
best day ever.
the best day ever, Sherry, my AFA day. And you know
AFA
what? You
day.
know what I got to ask you, babe?
I know.
What's it really all about?
Oh, you know what it's all about. It's about living your best life, helping others do the same, and sharing the love of plant medicine.
Yes. Yes. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.